Hey everyone, this is Martin again. I just wanted to give a follow-up video on my personal Lyme treatment that I was given for my initial diagnosis, the way it affected me, and just pretty much my experience with it altogether. So let's get into it. Once I was diagnosed with my Lyme disease, I was told that I had Lyme disease and a few co-infections. So I had Babesia, I had Bartonella, I had Ehrlichia, all together with the Lyme. So the doctor initially said that my Babesia was the most, it was the strongest infection in my body percentage-wise. Like he looked at the charts and he said, your Babesia is the one that's, the one that's affecting you the most. He's like, so we need to tackle the big ones and then sort of go accordingly with how strong they are. Start big and then you gradually go low. So with the Babesia, he prescribed me something called Coordum and acetovaquone. So the Coordum was in pill form, the acetovaquone was in liquid. And he told me to take the Coordum, I think something like a month. No, take the Coordum for 3 weeks straight. And then after that, take the acetovaquone for another 2 weeks. So whenever I started on the Coordum, I was a little bit skeptical, but at the same time, I was hopeful because I was like, you know what? I finally have an answer. I'm getting treatment. Like, this is awesome. And whenever I first took the pill, I would say within the first 3 or 4 hours, I began to feel like a little bit of a difference. I began to feel a little bit more energy, and I was stoked. I was happy. I was like, yeah, and then I had a friend that called me that day, and he's like, oh, how are you doing? And I'm just like, I feel good. I feel good. It was subtle. And I would say by that night, when I first started the Coordum, I was like skipping down the street. I had all this energy. Like, I had not had energy like that since before I got sick. So I was super, super happy. I was so hopeful. And I was like, this is the answer, So, like I said, I was given the Coordum with the acetovaquone, and I was given, for the Bartonella and for the Lyme and all that stuff, I was given a combination of something called rifampin and azithromycin. So whenever I was on the Coordum, day by day by day, I felt myself just getting stronger and feeling better, and altogether, like my overall physical health was just improving, and I was so happy and I was so excited, and I was like, yes, this is it. Cut to about 10 days, right? So 10 days afterwards, I started to feel a little bit like heavy, and a little bit heavy, a little bit tired, and it was definitely, the doctor said that, there was a possibility of me herxing, and that, it's normal and this and that. So I just sort of I took it in stride, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go the distance, and I'm gonna keep on with this course that I've decided to take. So cut to 2 weeks, I began to feel really heavy. I was having constipation, and just overall, I was having sort of like the symptoms of Babesia, which is an infection of the blood. It's very similar to malaria. It attacks sort of the red blood cells. It attacks, I think, like the nerves around your heart. It just makes breathing and stuff like that challenging. So whenever I was in the Coordum, after 2 weeks, I just remember just being, sort of feeling the way like I did whenever I first got sick, and just really, really being uncomfortable. I was having, like rapid heartbeat, but again, I was like, you know what? I need to stay on course, because if I got this far, I can keep on going. So 2 weeks turned into 3 weeks, turned into 4 weeks, and I was sick. I was sick, and I just felt so ill, and my vision just started messing up real bad at that time. And all around, I just felt really, really shitty. And I remember emailing the doctor, and I was like, hi, I know that you said there was gonna be a Herx reaction and this and that, but how long is the Herx reaction supposed to be? I looked up online, I looked up different resources, and people, herxing is very personal, and it's customized to your own body. Just pretty much like everything that involves sickness, right? So especially Lyme. Lyme will not affect me 100% the way it affects you. So you always have to keep that in mind. And the doctor was very he was listening, but he was also just like, you know what? He's like, this is normal. He's like, you just got to keep pushing. You got to keep pushing. And in my mind, I was like, okay, but like it's been a good like 2 weeks that I've been really ill, and I don't know. It seemed kind of odd, but whatever. I just had to keep going. I had no other answer. I was just, what, I'm on my treatment. I need to do this. So 4 weeks turned into 5 weeks, and by 5 weeks, I was in bed. I was bedbound. I felt like complete shit. I had to call off work again, got fired from a job in the process and all that stuff. And I definitely, at the time, I knew that I had to continue with the medications, but physically, I knew that my body was telling me stop. So I finally ended up emailing the doctor once more. This is around week 6. And I told him, I said, how is it normal for me to be herxing for this long? You know what I mean? Herxing for 6 weeks, like that's I never found a person that said they were herxing for that long. And I needed answers. So the doctor was shocked. The doctor emailed me back, and he's all like, I'm really sorry that you're going through this. And he said in so many words, I am not used to my patients having such reactions as you are having. He's all like, most of my patients, they get on the medication and they're good to go. And he's all like, and this is the thing, whenever I first went to the doctor, I wasn't his typical patient. Most of his patients are older women. And that's a common theme that I see in Lyme disease too, is that I see a lot of it tends to be more with women and older women. And I think that's just more like chronic disease in general. And I could be wrong, you know what I mean? I'm not sure, but just my personal observation, I see that a lot of it tends to affect older women. And, I'm a physically fit, young guy. And I always found it to be very strange that that was the case. And the doctor, when he saw me, he reaffirmed me in my belief, or just like my observation that, you know what? He's all like, you're a young guy. He's all like, you are healthy. You go to the gym. You eat right. You do this. You do that. You're not overweight. Blah blah blah. He's all like, so you will be able to knock out this infection a lot sooner than maybe somebody who's 20 years older who is female. So when a doctor is telling you these things, you internalize them, and you're like, okay, like, it's a bad situation, but I am one of the ones that won't have it that bad, or so I thought. And so after 6 weeks, the doctor emails me, and he's just like, I'm not used to my patients reacting the way you're reacting. He's all like, this is strange. And he's all like, so I'm gonna ask you to stop taking the medications altogether. Mind you, I had only been on the Cowardum and the acetovaquone at this point, right? That was it. I didn't even touch the rifampin. I didn't even touch the azithromycin. I did not touch those things. I was strictly following it for the babesia. And in the process, I got so much more sick. And I was bedbound, and just like the constipation was insane. I wasn't going to the bathroom for like a day or two at a time. And I knew that my body, like my skin was breaking out. I usually don't have skin problems, but my skin was breaking out, and I just knew that there was a problem, and that my body was talking to me. So, word of advice, whenever you have Lyme disease or just chronic infections in general, listen to your body. That's the one thing that you can take away whenever you are whenever you're plagued with these things, whenever you have these conditions, listen to your body. Your body will guide you more than anything, more than a doctor, more than any sort of course. Listen to your body, and it truly makes you one with yourself. So in the process, I had to learn that the hard way. It is what it is. So I stopped taking the medications, and this was already January of 2020. So January of 2020, I just stopped the medications altogether. I was in bed, and I was pretty much just like, I was pretty much like square one. I was pretty much back to where I was. And day by day, week by week, I had to sort of just like will myself back into regular life and just regular, just being again. So by February, I was feeling better. I definitely I took to detoxing like really. I took my detoxing seriously, and once I was detoxing efficiently, I was able to get I was able to reach a point where I was like, you know what, I feel better. So I was feeling better, and this is February 2020. So February turns into March, and I'm still sort of contemplating whether or not I should, take the azithromycin and the rifampin. But I knew that I had just got out of the woods with the babesia treatment, and I didn't want to just like rock the boat like that. I wanted to make sure that I was on, just like an even playing field when it came to my health, and that I felt good enough and strong enough to be able to do these things. I just got better. I didn't want to like get sick again. So March, and in the process, I ordered some like herbal stuff, and I started following the herbal protocols, but they said that would take a lot longer, so I knew that I wasn't going to see like an instant fix, but I ordered it anyways, and I started to take it. Didn't see any real progress in that time, but then again, it was only a few weeks that I was taking it. So March turns into April, and just so you guys know, I was living in New York. I was living in New York City, March and April. That's when the virus broke out. That's when everything just went to shit. And I pretty much had to reassess everything that I was doing, because I knew that there is this new virus that is going around, and I knew there was a possibility that if I were to catch it, that I would be, I could die, And at that time, there was no information on the virus, and I was in ground zero. So it was like, you have to make sure that you're doing everything to keep yourself protected. And so I'm doing all of those things. I pretty much just get the rifampin and the azithromycin, and I keep it, but I don't take it, because I knew if I would have started to take those medications and I would have gotten the virus, antibiotics naturally suppress your immune system. So if my immune system is being suppressed and I'm taking an antibiotic for a separate infection, and I get a new infection, a different infection, I could have like died or something. And I'm not trying to die. I mean, I got like this far, like why die now? So April came, and I had to move to Miami. I had to leave New York just because of the pandemonium, just everything that was going on. I had to leave New York. So I came, and in the process, I was like, you know what? I'm feeling better. I'm in Miami. At the time, it wasn't, a hot spot. At the time, like everyone looked at me like I was some sort of like leper, because I was coming from New York. And in that time, I had to just come and just sort of just shack up in my place right now that I'm staying, and just pretty much just be in solitude, just like everyone else is at this time. So I was feeling strong enough to start the azithromycin and the rifampin. So I started those two, the combination, and again, the first few days, I felt terrific. I felt amazing. I was like, yes, I feel my energy was going back up, and and the brain fog, and like all of the neurological things, and all of the symptoms that are associated with sort of Lyme disease and Bartonella, they were getting better. And it felt like it was like only in a few days that I saw a marked improvement. So a week passes, feeling great. And then for some reason, 2 weeks pass. And this was around the same time that I started having the issue with the last batch. 2 weeks pass when I'm taking this set of medications, and all of a sudden I start to herx. And I'm like, you gotta push through, you gotta push through, you gotta push through. So I'm herxing, and I'm just like, you gotta push through, you gotta push through. And this is the thing. Since I learned from the first time, I learned that if it's over 10 days, and if I'm not, if I'm incredibly constipated, and constipation is a big thing whenever it comes to these diseases and stuff like that. And if you are constipated, you want to make sure that you're getting everything out. And I knew that I was having severe constipation, and I was again bedbound. So different people have different reactions when it comes to herxing. But in my opinion and in my experience, if you are stuck in a bed for more than like 3 days, you gotta get off of it. You shouldn't be in a bed for more than 3 days. If you're gonna herx, herxing is sort of like, you feel ill, you feel flu-like, and that's fine. But the thing is that once it leaves you sort of immobilized, and you feel like you're back to square one again, I don't think that you should be like that for very, very long. And the thing is that the first time when I was taking the Coordum and the acetovaquone, I felt like that, and I was like that for weeks, and I thought that was normal. But this time I learned, I'm like, you know what? If the doctor told me to get off of that the last time when I told him like the duration of what was going on, I'm like, you got to do it again. So I was on that stuff for all of 3 weeks. And I guess the takeaway of all of this and my experience with pharmaceutical antibiotics and treatment of Lyme disease and co-infections is I cannot do it. I personally, myself, I cannot do it. There are many of us who we personally just cannot take, our bodies cannot take these antibiotics. And this is another thing that I find very interesting. We are not meant to be on antibiotics for very long, right? It naturally destroys like antibiotics destroy bacteria, right? They destroy bacteria. Your gut is filled with bacteria. It has good bacteria and bad bacteria. It has more good bacteria than it has bad bacteria. But the thing about it is that once you ingest those things, it kills all bacteria. So if all of your good guys and, sort of like your defense against diseases and viruses, if those things are removed, you are open to be even more sick, and you are open to sort of, once that course of treatment is done, you're open to being like weakened in terms of your natural immune response. And so something that I've really come to terms with and that I've learned is that whenever you're dealing with chronic infections, you need to make sure that your natural immune system is working at its best quality. You always want to make sure that your natural defense is working, because these things are temporary. These things are aids, supplements, antibiotics, all of these things, because at some point you're going to get off of them. But your body and your natural immune system needs to be able to take back over and drive out whatever is making you ill. So I've definitely learned that, and I wanted to share that, and I share that with everyone that I can, you know what I mean? So my personal experience is that I can't take antibiotics. I just can't. I've tried it, and even whenever I stopped the rifampin and the azithromycin, I stopped it. A month later, I tried it again, and I was just like, nah, like this isn't it. This isn't it. I started to feel the same way, and it was happening sooner. So with all of that being said, I decided to go the au natural route, and I've been on it now for several months, and I see a marked improvement. The all natural route can be very expensive. It can be kind of, confusing, but then again, this whole disease is confusing, so you just gotta bear with it, I suppose. And yeah, I'm going to go into detail with my next video of all of my natural protocols and all the things that I'm doing naturally. And yeah, if you if you went through all this video, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you again. Thanks.